So I think recording has started. So good evening to all of you, and our speaker has already joined. So welcome you, sir. The speaker today, his name is Professor Rabindra Kumar Satapathy, and he is a retired professor. Though professor, never retires, but he has retired from Department of Political Science, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. He was also the regional director of Northeastern Regional Center of ICSSR, Indian Council of Social Science Research. He has 42 years of teaching to his credit. He has 2 books and 30 journal articles and book chapters to his credit. He is the editor of an UGC approved referred journal. The name of that journal is Men and Society. His interests of area are international politics, electoral politics, Indian politics, and contemporary political theory. He was the state coordinator of Mizoram and Meghalaya to conduct the exit poll and post poll survey as part of Lokniti election study. He was also the visiting professor to different university, board member of different bodies of different university. He has guided several MPhil and PhD scholars. He is also the regular discussant in various TV channels on current affairs. Today, we must be thankful to the speaker that he has agreed to our informal invitation, and his agreement shows that how much he is academically oriented. And he has agreed to speak on postmodernism, though the title of today's talk is Meaning, Nature and Scope of Postmodernism. I intentionally gave this title. It's because that postmodernism is always against the certainty. And meaning, nature and scope, it speaks about certainty. So a philosophy, a paradigm which does not believe in certainty, how come we can be certain about this paradigm? So this postmodernism, so there is a difficulty giving a certain meaning, prescribe certain nature and certain scope of postmodernism. That is difficulty, and the speaker will say how it is difficult and why it is difficult. So postmodernism is an intellectual stance or paradigm defined by an attitude of skepticism towards what it considers as the great narratives and ideologies of modernism. So it is a critique to the modernism, as well as opposition to the epistemic certainty and the stability of meaning. So that's the meaning of postmodernism. It is characterized by self-referentiality, moral relativism, pluralism, and eclecticism. It rejects universal validity, binary opposition, identity hierarchy, and categorization. It is associated with deconstructivism and post-structuralism. Various authors have criticized postmodernism as promoting obscurantism, as an abandoning enlightenment rationality, as adding nothing to the knowledge. So here lies the problem. To some, postmodernism is correct because it speaks about the uncertainty. And for Some from for some other, postmodernism adds nothing to the knowledge. So many, they don't think that postmodernism is an doctrine, right? So today the speaker will speak about the myth and reality of postmodernism. What is right in postmodernism and what is wrong in postmodernism. Now, in the light of this introduction, I welcome Professor Satapathy to speak on postmodernism. Sir, welcome you once again. I may request you, you may start your session. Sir, please.
Thank you, Himanshu. So it's nice to uh, speak on this occasion. Good evening to all the participants. And of course, I see perhaps Professor Guru is also there. Though I left Sambalpur, so when he joined, but I knew that he was working there. So good evening to you also. Um, in fact, yeah, it's always a pleasure for me to speak when it comes to Sambalpur University because that is my alma mater. And at the same time, of course, I'm primarily a teacher, then I'm anything else. So that's why that's my first consideration whenever I get any offer to speak something to especially to the students. So I enjoy it thoroughly. That's one part. And second thing is that actually postmodernism. So I agree to speak in the sense that because there are a lot of myths around postmodernism because it's a very tough subject and students cannot understand. So it's very intractable thing. So from that point of view, I thought that because this thing, of course, I taught for several years to my students there in NEHU. But whenever I used to go, or even in other places also, generally, so this is how others they used to tell me to speak about postmodernism. To start with, in fact, I will talk about postmodernity, not postmodernism as such, and the distinction between postmodernity and postmodernism that I'll tell you subsequently. But when it comes to postmodernism, it's a very generic term. It has been variously used by various disciplines and under various names also. Like supposing literature people they used to, or linguists they talk about post-structuralism. That economics people they used to discuss with post-industrialism, post-Fordism. So different names are there. So, but all these things actually they are related with modernism. So unless we are clear about what is modernism, then it will be difficult again to catch up with this postmodernism. So when we think about modernism, actually I will speak about modernity as well as postmodernity because let me make very clear in the beginning, modernity is an idea. Similar is the case with postmodern. It's a thought, it's an idea, it's a philosophy. And postmodernism is actually, it is an era in which is swept by that idea or the thought of modernity or postmodernity. So first comes this idea or thought, then comes this era or that you can say that period, philosophical period under which generally, similarly, because mostly these youngsters, they used to say that we are previously they're talking about we are modern people. And I'll see in the beginning also, let me tell you, because I will try to make it as simple as possible. And I'll not enter into the philosophical complicacy, because unless you have your primary foundation about this idea or the philosophy of the postmodernity, it will be difficult again to catch up with those complete. Like supposing Foucault's idea of power and knowledge, or supposing that Lyotard's view about science, or even Baudrillard's view about simulacra. So all these things will come afterward, but we will try to discuss first this idea of what is modern, what is modernity, then we will shift to postmodernity.
Excuse me, sir. ଟିକେ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ପଢ଼ିବେ କି?
Sir, you can
ହଁ ସାର୍ ଟିକେ
unmute.
ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
Sir,
हाँ सर ओडिया रे टिके कहंतु।
सर लिसन टू मी सर, आपका जो माइक है वो म्यूट हो गया, आप पहले म्यूट को कर।
Oh, I see. Okay.
sir, let me intervene. Sorry, students. Actually, it is not your class, and you cannot impose the Odia language on our speaker. So this is something informally conducted by me, and I have requested the speaker to speak in English. So those who are not interested, they may leave this talk, or if they wish, they have to listen in English. So don't impose Odia, because many non-Odia listeners are also there. Outside India, students are also participating in this talk. So kindly don't disturb and allow our speaker to speak. Sir, please.
Yeah, no, let's do one thing. Okay, I'll speak in English, but at the same time, whenever you find.
All student are please mute your mic. Please, all student are mute your mic.
No, I'll try to say what I will do is that I will speak in English. So when it will come to this question answer session or something, at that time I can speak in Odia also, and for your better clarity, and because the whole objective of all these exercise is that you should get your issues clarified. That is the basic objective. And having said so, definitely, because some non-Odia students are also there, so they will find it difficult again to catch up with all the things. Mostly I will speak in English, but in between, whenever there is any problem or anything, then you can tell me, so that I will explain in Odia, and so that it will be easily understood. Okay, so it will serve the purpose of both even other students also, non-Odia students also, as well as you people. So that should not be an issue. So we will try to do that. See, what I was telling is that, so first let us discuss about that modernity. Or especially our youngsters generally, they used to say that we are modern because no one wants to be traditional, no one wants to be old styled people. So no one wants to be conventional, so everyone wants to be modern. So because of that, but nowadays the present generation people, they are telling that we are not only modern, we are postmodern also. Though we are not very clear about, see, as a student of political theory, I want to tell you very clearly, be very particular about the word what you are discussing. Like supposing everyone speaks about democracy, everyone speaks about civil society, everyone speaks of, so these terms, it has a specific connotation, it has a specific meaning. Try to understand that, and once you are clear about this idea, connotation and concept, then everything else will be very clear. So having said so when we are telling about modern, so modern actually in fact is derived from that Latin word modo. Modo means just now. Modo means just now. So if you will say that what is postmodern, then postmodern is after just now. after just now. And it seems as vague as the term. Because if you'll say that what is after just now? After just now, and it's not future. Remember, it's not future. But people, they used to call it, yes, something latest. There are various names, various things, generally they are attached to that, but people, they say that it's all about what is modern, what is latest, what is just now. So that is about modern. But the thing is that when this modern period started, and how did it start? A student of a history of political theory, they will remember that when you study your history of political thought, Western political thought or something, generally we used to divide this entire into 4 phases: ancient, medieval, modern, and contemporary. These 4 periods generally we divide this political thought. The demarcating line between medieval and the modern, this is a very significant one. And that is the most notable development, in fact, in the history of political thought, because in fact, before this modern period came, you must have in West, in fact, there was Protestant movement in the church, in Christianity, especially. There was also Protestant movement which was going on. And what is that Protestant movement? I will not enter into all the things. In brief only, I will say that Protestant movement was all about challenging the usual rituals, usual precepts, and also challenging the authority of ecclesiastical heads. So why they were challenging? What was the reason behind it? So they were not very comfortable with, because the ecclesiastical authorities, they were so powerful, they were not only the head of the religion, but also they were head of the state. So hardly there was any distinction between head of the state and the head of the church also. So from that side, people, they started questioning the authority of these ecclesiastical heads and also these religious precepts. So their basic argument was that, so how can we trust you? How can you believe that whatever you are telling, these are the edicts of God, these are the wishes of the God? How shall we believe it? As a student of political theory, I'll just take a cue from there. So the Protestant movement started questioning established laws, established authorities, and established rules of the society. That was the beginning of the era of a modern period. And after that, following that, so when this Renaissance, see, some people, they used to call that modern period started with Enlightenment era. But I used to say that, yes, no, it's not Enlightenment era, that is 17th, 18th century, but in fact, it started with this 15th or 16th century, when with the period of Renaissance. Renaissance was the period in which there are many Renaissance, these political thinkers also, they are like Martin Luther, Calvin, Zwingli, all those people who are there. We will not discuss about all these things. Again, I will take a cue only from there, this Renaissance movement. Renaissance was the period in which they used to say that is the awakening period of reasoning. All of us, first Protestant movement taught to question or to doubt the well-established laws, rules of the society and of the religion. So they started doubting and questioning. So in the Renaissance period, they said that we will not only doubt, who can doubt, who can question. The question who has the person who has freedom to think, the person who can think independent of those well established or conventional rules, he can only question. So as a result of that, people, they started questioning the authority, and apart from that, they tried to believe that it is the reason, the rationality each and every individual is endowed with. All of us, we are rational beings. Individual is a rational being. And if he is a rational being, reason is there to guide him what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. All these things, they are because of this reason and rationality. And second important thing is that your reason and rationality will only grow when there is freedom. In an environment of coercion or some sort of pressure, you cannot have that freedom. You cannot exercise your reason and rationality. So freedom and rationality, these are the two most fundamental traits of Renaissance period. And this thing continued for nearly 200 years, you can say. And followed by that, three things developed from Renaissance, that simultaneously they were being developed. One was liberalism or liberal thinking, whose core idea and principle is freedom and reason. Second important is that positivism, which emphasizes on science. And third thing is that modernism. Modernism is the culmination of all the things. So when this Enlightenment period started, so they tried to fine-tune this freedom and reason. They wanted to give some sort of intense academic color to this freedom and reason or rationality. And keeping in view of that, the most important contribution of reason and rationality is that, and especially this Enlightenment period, is that their argument is that there is a stable, coherent, and knowable self. Each and every individual is a stable, coherent, and knowable self. And that self is conscious, autonomous, and universal. There is no physical condition attached to that. It's a very, very significant statement that I am giving. So, individual is a stable, coherent, and knowable self. And it is endowed with the self is always conscious, rational, autonomous, and universal. So this is one aspect. And second aspect is that the reason and the rationality, so they will grow, or the self actually, because it's just the basic argument of this Enlightenment period is that their argument is that if you know yourself, through yourself you can know also the world. If you know yourself with the help of reason and rationality, with the same yardstick you can also understand, or you can also know the universe, the world, or the universe also. So the basic clue is reason and rationality. And this Enlightenment period, they again, the philosophy, they gave another you can push to their ideas by telling that reason and rationality is objective, which is very contested statement. because whether reason and rationality can be objective or not, that's a different issue. But only Enlightenment period generally, their argument says that Enlightenment period, they argue that it is always reason and rationality, they are objective, and because of that, because it is objective, that's why it is scientific also. It is scientific also. And when it is scientific, then obviously, so science is the main method of understanding self as well as the world. That is basic argument that reason and rationality, they are the most important consideration, which is objective, and science is the only method of understanding this objective reality. And not only that, science is neutral. Science is based on truth only. It is the only science which can take us to arrive at truth. And truth is eternal and universal. Truth is, I think someone is wants to, there is some problem somewhere.
Sir, you may continue, no problem.
No, I think someone is.
Sir, it's someone Priyanka Padhi.
Priyanka Sahu or something perhaps.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I think.
Okay, sir. I removed her. You can continue.
Yeah, no, my video perhaps is off now.
We can see you, sir.
You can see.
Yeah, we can see you.
Then it's all right, because for that I don't require my photo to come. If others can see, then it's all right.
We can.
Anyway,
I will let
that
you
is one part, and second important aspect is that that science generally is useful for knowing the truth, and which is universal. And not only that, the biggest achievement of this Enlightenment period is that Enlightenment period gives hope to the mankind that our future is bright, because with the help of science, not only we can understand the universe or the world, but also we can regulate, we can control the nature also. So because of that, so reason with the help of science is the ultimate judge of what is true, what is right, and what is good also. So that's why it is always necessary to obey to the laws that conform to the knowledge discovered by reason. So this is again a statement that I will try to counter it when it comes to postmodernity, that I will discuss. And apart from that, the most important aspect about this Enlightenment period is that the science, the language also, especially postmodernists, they always challenge the argument about the language, about the science. And both the things generally, modernists, they say that language must be transparent. Language must be the medium which represents our exact thought. Whatever we think, it must be conveyed through the language, and it should be transparent, it should be neutral also. And science also must be neutral and objective, and those who produce scientific knowledge, they are unbiased rational capacities. So all these things generally that is their argument. But the most important aspect about modernity is that modernity speaks about order. Now let's come to modernity. Modernity speaks about order. Modernity speaks about systematization. See, their basic argument is that this whole universe is very complex. This world is very complex world. And if you want to understand this universe, you need to know certain mechanism by which you can understand this complex world. And for that, scientists generally, they are busy creating some sort of general theories or general laws by which this nature works or nature functions. That is the most important part of that Enlightenment period or the modern period. So their basic argument is that one has to be very careful about what is the systematization, what is order, and how generally this order and systematization can be understood through a systematic way. So our knowledge must be systematic. The most important part is that our knowledge must be systematic. Our understanding must be that ordered one. But when I say about order, then comes this binary relationship. There can be order when there is a disorder only. Without disorder, you cannot understand order. If there is no night, there can be no day. If there is no evil, there can be no good. So, if there is no women, there cannot be no men. So, this binary relationship is most important. So, why I am telling this binary sign is more important? Because purposely, according to postmodernists, of course, that is their allegation, purposefully, so this disorder was created to prove that order is superior to disorder. Order is superior to disorder. So because of that, this disorder has been created. And the disorder is something bad, something wrong, something which is not to be favored, or something not to be accepted. So that's why this order is superior to disorder. And not only that, they say that this entire world, it is in a complex form. So we have to bring symmetrical, we have to find out the symmetrical link between all these things to understand about this complex world. So order, systematization, totalization, all these things were the basic characteristic of modernity. But the problem associated with that, so then let me just sum up like this. So modernity speaks about rationality, about freedom, about industrialization, about urbanization, about making the scientific knowledge, systematization, all these things, they are associated with modernity. But the whole problem with modernity is that, see, modernity ruled for nearly 500 years, or even more than 500 years it ruled. And now also, we are not ready to accept postmodernity as a scientific, as a systematic discipline. So, most of us, we are not ready to say that we are in postmodern era. The problem with modernity is that modernity compels you to believe that once the scientific truth is established, scientific knowledge is established, you must have to follow that. You must have to obey that. If you are not obeying, then you are something, you can say that there is some problem with you. There is some problem. If you cannot accept that this is right, this is the actual knowledge, then the problem is that there is some problem with you. And because of that, modernity or modern was associated with West. Whatever knowledge came from the West, that is the modern knowledge. And whatever knowledge came from, because of white, English, male, Christianity, all these things were basically with the side of that, you can say that self, or with this, you can say that Western knowledge. What my argument is that, so whatever knowledge comes from West, that is right. Whatever white people, they say they are superior to non-white people. Christianity is a better religion than all other religions. Men is superior to women. So like that, this type of binary relationship was created. And not only it was created, at this stage, let me tell you that the relationship between the self and the other. In modernity, self is always whatever I told you, that male, white, whatever is coming from this West, everything generally, they belong to the self. And which is not there in the self, they belong to the other. Like supposing we non-West people, or even whatever knowledge we have, all these things, we belong to the other. So the relationship between the self and the other, it's a very tricky thing in the sense that, because they had created an universe by which you have to conform with them. If you conform with how they behave, what they say, then you are self. You belong to the self. If you deviate from there, then you are the other. So in course of time, it was found that most of the people in the West, they created some sort of myth among themselves, around themselves, that they are the modern. And this issue was actually challenged, though there were philosophical roots of post-modernity, that is there from Kierkegaard, then Nietzsche, Wittgenstein. So there are various philosophers generally who had also spoken against this Enlightenment period, about modern period, like what is Enlightenment? Wittgenstein, he had written that book. Or even many other people generally, Nietzsche, he said that God is dead. So like that, there were many ideas, many opinions. They speak about something which is not in conformity with the established norms of modern. But in 1970s, for the first time in Canada, there was a bipartisan commission which was established. And there, actually, that was the knowledge commission which was constituted by this Canadian government. And Francois Lyotard, actually, he was there as the main person relating to that knowledge commission. And in 1978, I think 77 or 78, so he submitted that report, and which is subsequently published by Lyotard in the form of a book, that Postmodern Condition, a report on knowledge. That's a small book. around 84, 85 pages book. Though subsequently some glossaries are there, postmodern terms they've been explained, but it's a small book, 84, 85 pages book. There he had discussed about this. Subsequently, again, he had written also, Lyotard had written another book also different. Like that, few books he had written in order to justify his position and how he had challenged modernity. So these things. So when it comes to postmodernity, postmodernity is a postmodernity is a reaction to all the claims of modernity. In simple term only, in a simple term, I can say postmodernity is a reaction to what modernity claims. But again, Lyotard himself has defined postmodernity. Postmodernity is incredulity towards meta-narratives. Postmodernity is incredulity towards meta-narratives. This is basically his definition of. See, let me tell you, postmodern, if you ask me, so what do you understand? How, in the simplest way, how can I explain what is postmodern? I'll give you a very practical example. For example, supposing when for a building construction, all the materials are dumped in a place. Your sand will be required, iron rods will be there, cement will be required, bricks will be required. All these things are required and they are dumped in a place. And I will call it as postmodernity. Why I will call it as postmodernity? Because all the things which are dumped, they don't have any symmetrical relationship. They don't have any symmetrical, that means they are not put in a very systematic order. That's why it is very difficult to comprehend. So what are they meant for? Unless they are put in systematic order, they don't make any sense. But all those materials, when they are used in a systematic manner, then a building is constructed. So in the building, sand, cement, your bricks, your iron rods, so they are put in a systematic and symmetrical manner. And when the building is constructed, it makes sense. It makes sense. You can say that this is a building. But before that, whatever is there, that doesn't make any sense. So anything which is not in order or which doesn't make any sense. In fact, actually, postmodernism started from nihilism. Nihilism, because they say no or nay to anything and everything. That's what postmodern people says. So postmodernity is not about the death of modernity. Postmodernity is skeptical. They are doubtful about all the claims of modernity. That is actually postmodernity. So when they doubt whatever modern or modernists they claim, they are skeptical, they are doubtful, and not only that, they challenge also all the things that is claimed as modern. So from those points of view, modern and postmodern, if you think, it's not that they are challenging or it's not that they are declaring the modern as the dead, but some people they say that yes, they are apathetic to modernity. They are saying that whatever modern has already told. Now we are telling about our version. And having said so, now let's see. So what postmodernists they say? Regarding this scope and nature or the features of postmodern, let me tell you in a simplest term, postmodern is against any depth and essence. Their basic argument is that we don't have to break our head about its depth. You have to think as it appears. Why shall we go to the deep of everything, and why shall we unnecessarily spend time? Because you cannot comprehend anything permanently. You cannot have any, you can say that a permanent understanding of anything. There is nothing called permanent. See, their argument is that they give a very logical argument they used to present. The most important argument is that this entire world is in a constant change and flux. The world is ever changing. The universe is ever changing. Nothing is permanent here. And when this universe is continuously changing or it is continuously in motion, how there can be a permanent truth? How there can be a permanent knowledge? Do you understand? Because there is nothing permanent here. So that's why they always speak about contextuality. Everything is contextual. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is fixed in this world, and there cannot be. So the first rejection of modernist claim that science provides absolute truth or eternal truth, universal truth, which is a misnomer, which is absolutely false, because there is nothing like universal truth, there is nothing like universal knowledge. It is not possible. So that is the first thing. Second important argument is that postmodernists, they say that knowledge comes not from science. Science doesn't provide any knowledge. Science provides only skill and technology. See, we all political science students, um, we are not so good in mathematics or not so good in science. So that's why, so when it comes to any criticism of science, we feel very happy. So, and postmodernists, they have come to our rescue by telling that, yes, this is something very important in the sense that that science only provides skill and technology only. Especially if you think about, because their argument is also logical in the sense that, so there is a fixed way of, supposing in a chemistry lab. So what generally a chemist, what does he do? So there is some specific formula. So this much of component, if it will be added to another this much of component, then the result will be like that. You have to test only whether that is right or wrong. So it's a matter of skill only. What does an engineer do? What does a doctor do? So it's a matter of your it's a matter of your only skill only and technology only. So that's why Lyotard, he argues that science simply is the game of languages only. It's a politics of language only. How all these theories and laws they have been narrated, that is more important than the knowledge itself. So because of that, so they say that, because Lyotard, he argues that narrative knowledge and scientific knowledge, and he says that philosophers and historians, they are no less knowledgeable than these scientists. And why shall we trust only whatever the scientists they say? So that is another. Third important characteristic of postmodernity is about logocentrism. Logocentrism. Logo means one. So there has to be one center, because knowledge, everything must be there at the center. And in the periphery, all others, you have to conform to that knowledge. You have to conform to that knowledge only. So keeping in view of that, their argument is in favor of decentering. So why there will be only one center? Let there be different centers. Let there be various interpretations. Let there be various understandings. Why there will be knowledge will be, that I will discuss about when I will discuss about post-structuralism, that I will discuss. So this is another argument put forward by these postmodernists. Then another argument by these postmodernists, they say that scientists are only storytellers. They are narrators only. And whatever the scientific laws are there, they used to, postmodernists, they call them as the narratives. They narrate certain things. There is nothing so great that we have to only believe that. So whatever they are telling, they are as if universal truth, and that has to be trusted. So from that point of view, postmodernist argument is that they are storytellers and they speak about meta narratives or the grand narratives only, grand stories they used to speak. Rather, if they tell the stories and universalism is not possible, then postmodernists, they argue in favor of mini narratives. Because they say that entire universe cannot be comprehended. It is not possible to comprehend the entire universe or entire world. So that's why try to limit ourselves to a particular context. For example, when I say that, like supposing previously people, they used to say that democracy means generally whatever Abraham Lincoln was telling, or generally whatever West believes, that is democracy. But now if you will ask anyone what is democracy, then they will say, what sort of democracy you are talking about? Which democracy? Is it black democracy? It is feminist democracy? It is Islamic democracy? It is that third world democracy? Like that, unless you give an adjective to that, that doesn't make any sense. It will not make any sense what sort of democracy you are talking. So that's why postmodernists, they say that knowledge has to be contextualized. In a particular context only, you have to understand that knowledge. Universal knowledge is not possible at all. So we must give up any attempt. We must not strive unnecessarily breaking our head about that universal truth or universal knowledge. All these things are not possible. So postmodernists, they speak about localism instead of universalism. They speak about localism instead of universalism, and at the same time, they speak about mini narratives against these meta narratives. If all are storytellers, let us tell about our stories, about the context in which we are living. That is more. That's why postmodernists are very nostalgic about past, about history. They are very nostalgic. They say that why shall we give up our history about our past in the name of science, in the name of modernity? Why shall we give up about our leave our roots? So these are some of the arguments that they used to give. And another argument that I am telling about is so this is actually Baudrillard's argument. They say that there is nothing called real in this world. This entire world is relative. This entire world is virtual. We are living in virtual world. There is nothing original in this world. There is nothing original in this world. So this entire world is, you can say that the Xerox copy or the carbon copy of that original. And what is that original? No one knows. What is that original? No one knows. But certainly this world is not the original one. All these are only, that's what he uses this word simulacra. This world is a simulacra only, the carbon copy or the Xerox copy of the real one. But no one knows what is that real. For example, just I'll give you through some example. So what does it mean by this simulacra? I'll not go into the deeper aspect, the philosophical aspect of what Baudrillard says, but I'll try to explain it in a simple, in my own way. I'll try to explain it this thing. For example, supposing your teacher gives you certain notes or give a book. So this is the book you take and you can make copies out of that. So what do? You try to go to the Xerox shop and you make some few copies out of that. And those copies, again, you circulate among few of those who are not present. Again, they will request you, okay, you give me your copy. From there, I will try to get Xeroxed. So they take your Xerox copy. From there, they again get them Xeroxed. Next, again, someone else, they will take from him and he will also get it Xeroxed. What I am telling is that after these 3-4 times of Xeroxing, the original is lost. What is original, no one knows. They will, for the person who has Xeroxed this phrase, so he will say that the material from which I got the Xerox, so that is original for me. From there I got this Xerox. But remember, that is not the original one. So like that, there are, because he talks about, Baudrillard talks about various filters, I am not going into that. So this is how he believes that nothing is original in this world. We are living in the world of images and copies only. So this is one part of what is postmodern. But again, another aspect I will discuss in the sense, because how it has been used variously by various teams. Because it came to political science, of course, subsequently, but before that, first it started with aesthetics, then again paintings, aesthetics, then it went to literature also, then from there to different aspects, and ultimately entered into social science, in which again political science was also influenced by these postmodern ideas and thoughts. So in the most important contribution that was there in post-structuralism, And Derrida was a great contributor to this post-structuralism. He speaks about the deconstruction. Again, we will not discuss in a simple, in my own way. I will try to explain you this thing. That they say that the language that we speak, it provides a specific meaning. For example, the dress, we call it shirt, we call it pen, we call it a pen, we call it paper, we call it a building. All these names that has been given, who has given this name? And why these names are given? How these names are given? That needs to be thought of. That is one part. Second part, structuralism believes in a particular structure, supposing, so when we speak a sentence, so we can comprehend the sentence because it is put in a symmetrical order. As I told you about the example of a building, similarly, here also, so there is a symmetrical relationship. So because of that, it makes some meaning. But if you jumble up these words in that sentence, doesn't make any sense or doesn't make any meaning. And each and every idea or literature even, each and every idea has to, according to structuralists or according to our modern thinking, so each and every text is to be understood only from the perspective of the author. See, in any writing, there are three components: the author, the text, and the reader. There are three components. And out of these three components, author who creates the text itself, and the reader who reads that text. If you are a modernist, you will say that who is more important? Then naturally the author who is more important, because he has created the text only. Whatever we are reading today, that is his creation. So the author is more important because he is the creator of the text. But if you are a postmodernist, you will say, just like Nietzsche, who says that God is dead, postmodernists, they say that author is dead. They say that author is dead because once the text is produced, author has no meaning for us. Because each text has to be understood from the point of view of the author. No, sorry, from the point of view of the reader, not from the point of view of the author. What was the intention of the, like supposing Grammar of Politics of Lasky? Why he was writing? What is his viewpoint? So what is his ideological leanings? All these things a reader has to understand if he wants to go through that book, so that you can give justice to the author. But postmodernists, they say that we don't have to break our head about who is the author. We are reading the text, and as we understand, we have to interpret accordingly. There are two consequences in this. First consequence is that you are coming from that rigid boundary of the author's intention. Second important consequence is that if a text has several interpretations, it gives richness to the text. It gives richness to the, supposing there are 100 people or 1,000 people, they will read a book. They will have their own understanding. They will have their own interpretation. So that is more important. So why shall we only think about only one interpretation, and what is the author's intention? Accordingly, that will be interpreted. So that doesn't make any sense. So postmodernists, they argue that, so once the text is produced for our purpose, author is dead. There is no meaning for us, and we need to understand according to our choice, according to our wish. That is one. Second important part is that generally in philosophy, we used to argue that signifier and the signified, the object and the subject, who is more real? The reality lies with the object that, for example, we are viewing a flower. All of us supposing we are viewing a flower. So who is more important, the flower or we people? The reality lies with the flower or reality lies with us? If you are a modernist, you will say that it is the signified, it is the object, it is the flower. The reality lies with that. A flower which is red, we cannot call it blue. We cannot call it white. So because of that, so reality or the truth lies with that object only. So because that is the signified. But postmodernists, they say that there is nothing called signified. How you are seeing, if you are a poet, you will interpret the flower accordingly. If you are a philosopher, accordingly you will also interpret. If you are a common viewer, you will also, among common viewers also, you will interpret differently. So the reality lies with, there is nothing called real. So it all depends upon the interpretation. In postmodernity, so the truth or the reality lies always with the not reality as such, your interpretation lies with the signifier, not the signified. So this is how literature people they used to think. And now let's come to this economics people, how they discuss about this post-industrialism. For your information, you must be knowing that in the very beginning, the Ford, one of the original very few companies, in fact, Ford company, they produced cars in America. And when these cars were produced, so all those royal people or those who could afford money, they could only purchase those cars, and the car, supposing you will place order, it will become that manufactured there in America, then it will be shipped to your place. So accordingly, whatever this company was producing, you are bound to purchase, even the spare parts also. So the company will manufacture the spare part. If your car goes out of order, you have to wait till the spare part comes from America. That was the beginning, the Ford company. But now what is happening? If you want to buy a car, you can customize your car also. No, I don't want, even another example I can give you, mobiles or even your laptops. Dell company says that you can customize whatever, how many RAMs you want, what should be your memory, and which version you want. Accordingly, we will customize and we will give you. It will come to your mobile also, the same thing. So what I want to say is that during modern period, everything was centralized from manufacturer point of view. Manufacturer was at the center, and these buyers, they were they were left at the mercy of these manufacturers. But now we are living in the era of consumers. The way we want, manufacturers will produce accordingly, according to consumers' choice, consumers' wish, consumers' requirement. Everything will be produced now as per their wishes. what I want to say is that, so from monopoly capitalism, we are coming to consumer capitalism now. In fact, there is only one Marxist, one of the earliest actually Marxist uh, postmodernist, James Fredrickson, and he was the person who had told about there are three stages of capitalism, that you can say that market capitalism, then monopolistic capitalism, and consumer capitalism. There are three different stages of growth of capitalism, and accordingly he had given his own argument. And consumer capitalism, he used to call it as the postmodern capitalism. So that is another aspect of modernity. So what I am telling is that postmodernity has virtually entered into the academic discipline, and in almost every subject, including science subjects also, they have accepted postmodern, because they have started also questioning all these established laws of science, established rules of science, and even starting from you can say that theory of evolution, Darwin's theory, Archimedes theory, all these established theory. Now, scientists, they are trying to relook at them also. But before just giving some sort of concluding this thing, let us try to understand what is the contribution, ultimately what postmodernism has achieved. If we ask about their achievement, I will say that as a student of political science, whatever they have discussed, the way they have challenged, the way they have contributed, that is the major contribution, that is the major achievement of postmodernity. There are many people who didn't like that word postmodernity. And many people, they didn't want to use this word because there are, see, I didn't discuss about the views of Lyotard, about Foucault, about Derrida, Baudrillard, all these people were there. I didn't discuss about their views because that will again give a different dimension to the discussion. So we are not discussing about that, but only I am telling is that the major problem with postmodernity is that they do not have anything substantial to contribute. They rejected modernity, that is fine. They said that, okay, this is all the claims of science is false, and whatever science that modernists, they believe they are wrong, okay, we accept. But what is the alternative before us? What is the alternative before us? What we will assume as their main achievement? So there is no, that's what I told you, that nihilism, that word, actually it started with that, because if you go on rejecting everything without giving any alternative idea or thought, then people may not trust you. And because of that, postmodernity has not become very popular among academics, and especially Marxists. They are very critical about postmodernity and about or the Jürgen Habermas, for example. He says that there is nothing called postmodern. You can say that the latest development of modernity, that you can say. So this postmodern word, because he had a lot of argument with Foucault also, Derrida also during his, because he is the only living sociologist as well as thinker, philosopher from critical theory school or Frankfurt School theorist. So he used to argue that there is nothing called postmodern. Everything is modern. Because Weber and others who had spoken eloquently about modernity, So he says that yes, that is still continuing. You can question that is, and whatever you contribute, that is the latest development in the study of modernity. But it's not something postmodern, something beyond what is latest. So this is the major problem with postmodernity. As I told you, this because many philosophical sources were there that contributed for the connotation of this word postmodernity, or even that the idea, the concept itself has been created as a result of the amalgamation of various thoughts. But whatever they have contributed, um, I'll say that yes, we are enriched by their contribution. They give a different interpretation. Okay, even if postmodernity is the latest stage of modernity, but we are enriched by their knowledge and the way they had interpreted. So that is our major achievement. That is our major. I can say we are learning about the other side of the what modernists have been telling us for last 500 years. So let me stop here. There are many other things to say, but already I have crossed my schedule. So that's why. Let me stop here. Then I will interact, and if there is anything new or anything I'm asked to, I'm happy to speak. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. It's more than 1 hour talk. You have talked near about 1 hour 20 minutes. I
Thank
think
you.
speaking on postmodernism for 1 hour is itself is a very challenging task, because those who wants to be certain, and if they will try to understand postmodernism, then they will fail to understand postmodernism. I mean, to understand postmodernism, we have to understand the uncertainty what Aristotle had talked about. What is the problem of modernity? Post-modernity, it is because what is the problem of modernity? Why science is right? Why non-science is not right? That's the question. And what I understood, the scope of postmodernism, means in a postmodern society, tradition has its own relevance, then modernity has its own relevance, and those who are critic to modernity, they have also the relevance. So no one should reject another until and unless they have not falsified it. I mean, if one closely look at postmodernism, one can find that it is very much linked with post-behavioralism. Behavioralism is all about rationality, all about positivism, all about regularities. There are 7 principles of behavioralism. But at the end, David Easton realized that truth or reality is not mechanical; it is also meaningful. I mean, the more we give emphasis on methods, it may not lead us towards the reality, towards the truth. Hence, research should be meaningful and relevant. And to be meaningful and relevant does not necessarily detached from the values. Hence, postmodernism gives importance to the values. I think the more you think on postmodernism, many, what I will say it, that many thoughts will come. Thoughts, those who are tilting towards postmodernity and those who are doing a critique towards postmodernity, that will come. So among us today, Dr. Shyama Prasad Guru from Sambalpur University and Professor Swarnamay Tripathi from Utkal University. She is also retired. Both the professor is among us, and Dr. Pratima Sadangi. She is teaching in Gangadhar Meher University, and Dr. Nivedita Giri from the Kalandi College, Delhi University. These four faculties to whom I know, they are present with us, and I welcome them to this talk, and I request them to give their observation or any comment. So first, I request Guru sir to give his observation or comment on this talk. Sir, please.
Professor Satapathy, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much for your kindness to accept our invitation to deliver this web talk.
Thank you. It's my pleasure also.
I think our listeners must have been benefited by your deliberations. At the same time, I'm extremely glad that you remember me, even if we have not met since you left the department as a student.
Yeah.
When you left the department as an outgoing student in the final year, I joined the department as a teacher. So we had no occasion to meet and interact with one another, but to exchange our views.
Yeah.
So today I'm extremely glad. I'm also thankful to you. So far as this issue is concerned, postmodernism, nature, scope, etc. I have been grappling with this topic since long. I have asked questions and queries to my friends who are in different universities of India, including Prakash Adangi, who was my junior. I couldn't find a satisfactory answer. It is so baffling. No one comes out with a concrete, precise, and definite answer on this question. Why? Why we are not able to define postmodernism in political science? As I understand, postmodernism emerged initially in arts, architecture, literature, and gradually infiltrated into social sciences and much later to political science. How we are interested in postmodernism or postmodern theory as a student of political science, how does it help us in our research and analysis of political phenomena? What are the defining attributes of postmodern theory? What is postmodern politics? And how we shall make use of postmodern technology or methods for the purpose of analysis of political phenomena in a realistic situation? This is a very pertinent question that grapples my mind. As I understand, postmodernism has been used by contemporary teachers or political scientists of India for the purpose of their ego satisfaction, to be at par with other social sciences like sociology or psychology, anthropology, etc. But how does it benefit us? What are the defining attributes? What are the differences between modern political theory and postmodern political theory? As I understand, postmodern political theory is essentially characterized by major academic concerns, such as search for realism, search for precision, search for comprehensiveness, search for universalism, and search for intellectual orders. These are the defining attributes of modern political theory. Similarly, how do we define and find out the defining attributes or features of postmodern political theory? We do not have any clue. No one tells us concretely. But I perceive, this is my personal understanding of it, that postmodernism is the word which has been wrongly used by political scientists. better word should have been post-behavioralism. I understand postmodernism in political science has emerged from post-behavioralism. The post-behavioral movement, which was initiated by David Stein in 1969. And what he emphasized, that our research activities must not only be fact-based, it must be socially relevant. So the defining attributes or premises of pure sciences, such as factual analysis, objective analysis, causal analysis, must be supplemented by the search for social relevance. We cannot therefore build or design mega theories. We can at least make a search for particularism amidst multiculturalism. We must investigate into the pattern of attitudes and culture at the level of the individual, at the level of groups. And on the basis of our observations, we design theories. Therefore, mega theories are not possible. Small theories, micro theories may be built. And these micro theories would help us for understanding politics at the level of the individual, politics at the level of the groups, and even politics at the level of the national society. So social relevance is the prime concern today, and that is what I mean by postmodern focus. We must be socially relevant, otherwise you have no place on this earth as academicians. No one will care for us. No one will respect us. Our utility as political scientists exclusively depends upon our social relevance. Take for instance, as I understand, I'm giving you a concrete instance. We as political scientists intend to undertake a study of legislative behavior in Lok Sabha. What we do as a modern political scientist and what we do or expected to do as a postmodern political scientist. Let us focus our attention to this analysis. As a modern political scientist, we observe the legislative behavior of members of parliament or Lok Sabha on the floor of the house. We find out how many of them are participating in the discussions and deliberations, and that too relevantly. How many of them are dozing? How many of them are resorting to criminal activities like throwing mics to the speaker? How many members are present in the house? So we observe it first. This is what of the problem. We must investigate into why of the problem and how of the problem simultaneously. This is the concern of a modern political scientist. At the same time, what a postmodern political scientist should do. He will not only describe and investigate, he will give his prescriptions. What is good, what is bad, what is right, what is just, what is wrong, what is just, what is unjust, what is praiseworthy, or what is condemnable. So we as a political scientist must prescribe, enlighten the people of the state or the country, how the members of the parliament are functioning and what they should do. That is the preoccupation of postmodern political scientists today. That is my understanding. I may be wrong, but I have not found a satisfactory answer to my queries. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Guru sir. Sir, Satapathy sir, you want to respond to Guru sir? Then I will go back to Professor Swarnamay Tripathi.
Can I take all the questions together?
Yes.
His observation also is there. Yeah, if you want, I can also respond. See.
Now then we'll do one thing. Sir, then we'll do one thing. So let me take the questions or observation given by the faculties. Then you will respond. After that,
Okay.
I will read out the question asked by the students.
Okay.
So, Swarnamay madam, kindly say your observation.
सर नमस्कार गुरु सर नमस्कार
नमस्कार नमस्कार
सतपति सर
कौन मैडम
नमस्कार
नमस्कार हाँ
नमस्कार मैडम
actually talk I have no comments on this.
Okay. And then we have among us Dr. Nivedita Giri.
I always want to know more and more about postmodernism, so I learned a lot from you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
no observations for that.
Okay, let me go
Thank you,
back.
Himanshu sir.
Thank you, madam. Dr. Nivedita Giri. Yes, Didi, please.
Namaskar, sir. Sonali madam, I hope you recognize me. And Guru sir, very good evening to you. Thank you for this kind of. I really appreciate Dr. Himanshu for organizing such kind of enlightening talks, and so I try to be regular whenever he's organizing. But this was really a very, very interesting postmodernism. It's really difficult to understand what is postmodernism. We always talk about modernism, we critique, but the way the explanation, nihilism, and sir explained thoroughly, and it was really a good one. And my only, if we look at present day, when we have now learned how to question and the reasoning that is there, and the sense of choosing right and wrong. So in present day, the contemporary global politics, if we look at, the we must see if we have understood the ground principles of postmodernism, then we can question the new liberal policies and the way the consumerism has been imposed on us, and the new terms which are being used in global politics at present, like hybridization and McDonaldization. One has to, a political young political scientist, researcher must inquire into these questions and these new terms which are being imposed by the westerners, especially. So ପିଲାମାନେ ଏଠି ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କାହିଁକି କହନ୍ତୁ ବୋଲି କହୁଥିଲେ, so ମୁଁ ବି ଟିକେ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କହିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଛି, so that they will also become little happy that
मैडम जस्ट अ मिनिट ओडिया रे कहले आपण बुझी पारिबे नाही शब्द गुडाक ताको ट्रांसलेट करी कहले आको दुर्बोध्य होई जीवो English is much easier than Odia translation.
I do understand, but I think let us students not feel sad today. Himanshu is there to take care of them. So, sir, thank you so much. I think if we look at the scope and the extent of postmodernism, we have started questioning the old forms, and now we are talking about multiculturalism, and we are talking about the identity issues in the politics, and the in democracy, like sir also mentioned that feminist democracy, whether it is feminist democracy or multicultural democracy or kind of democracy, we are trying to trying to understand every bit of it. And if we look at the extent or scope, these are the area I feel that postmodernism we're talking about. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Satapathy sir, now you can respond to these two observations.
Thank you very much. First, I'll start, of course, with Professor Guru. He has raised a very pertinent issue regarding the relevance of post-modernity in the modern days. See, generally, when we discuss about theory or theoretical aspect, all the theories, they don't come up in vacuum, because all the theories generally they are the part and parcel of the society, and naturally it comes up because of interplay of various phenomena. As a result of that, only some theories they are born. And similar is the case with post-modernity also, because all these 500 years or even more than 500 years, whatever scientists they were claiming, or the modernity whatever it was claiming, a section of mostly these French people generally, because most of the post-modernists they are from France, so and from other countries of course were there, but they started again trying to go deeper into all the claims that what modernity claims, whatever they say, so whether they are right or wrong. So that was the first important question that they raised, and they found that all the claims of modernity they are not relevant, they are not right in so accordingly they interpreted their things. That is one aspect. Second thing, regarding this relevance, social relevance also, that I will not take, or I will not try to understand theory from that perspective. I will try to understand, like supposing so how they have contributed positively to the society. That is more important, because so all these years we have been thinking that whatever modernists they are talking about, like supposing Marxism as a theory, or so liberalism as a theory, so all these general theories that we were studying, so can we accept them from postmodernist point of view? Can we accept them that foolproof theories? Is it that they are not uh, is it not that they need to be challenged if they are? So it's not that, uh, and we do not have to accept everything. That is how, that non-conformism. So that needs, because that is the part of our reasoning and rationality. Because our rationality says that we have to act as an independent mind, autonomous mind, and a free mind. And that is how generally they try to address the issue of modernity. And they found that I see, I'm neither I'm accepting the all claims of post-modernity, nor I say that whatever modernity has done. I, as a student of politics, that's why I concluded that post-modernity's contribution to the society is enormous, because they had removed the myth, whatever these modernists had given us so far. And as a student of political theory, we need to know whatever what is the positive contribution of modernity, and what is the positive contribution of post-modernity also. So from that point of view, if we say about post-behavioralism, see, post-behavioralism, they speak about only techniques. They speak about techniques, and substance must precede techniques. So these things, that is, see, post-modernity is much beyond the technique only. Post-modernity is much beyond about relevance only, because it's not a question of, that's why post-modernity use that word utility, not relevance, because relevance has a different connotation. So post-modernists, they are telling that yes, knowledge must go by its utility, and that utility will be determined by the society, by the context, that will be decided by that. There cannot be any universal acceptance or rejection about that. That is what this thing. And regarding, of course, regarding this post-modernity, I also perhaps several people, starting from literature to all these people, whomever I met, in especially I'm telling about early 90s, not less than 15-20% those who from literature, from philosophy, from all these people, I try to know. So what is this thing? And I learned something from some people. But that is how I try to develop interest to know. So why can't I understand also that point? And apart from that, also when I was going to Hyderabad, there I because this American Study Research Center. So once I was entering I saw that there was a seminar which was going on about post-structuralism and deconstruction. I told that what does it mean? I went, sat for some time, and there also I couldn't make out anything. Then I started discussing there itself. After the seminar was over, I was trying to know. So that is how generally I try to learn all these things. But the thing is that when I started teaching this subject, I found it was a formidable challenge for me, to especially postgraduate student, when you have to tell all these abstract. See, postmodernity is all about abstract things, because you cannot give them anything concrete, show them concrete. So that abstract thing, when you discuss with the students, you have to come down to their level in order to, that's why I tried my best, of course, to come down to that level to speak even today also. So how does it mean, and what generally will be relevant for them?
Yes.
And regarding especially Dr. Giri's this thing, yes, I know that Dr. Baba, he speaks about hybridity. Or see, our problem, especially in the third world countries, our major problem is that we try to understand anything from the prism of West. That was our major problem actually. But as you have rightly told, and that Baba and others, actually, those who talked about hybridity, we can develop a source of knowledge which is relevant or which is useful only for these third world countries, like supposing an Indian context. And that's why this is the actually major achievement of postmodernity, is that they go by the context. So when we speak about rights, what sort of rights we in India or in a particular place, what do we mean by that? Or supposing when we speak about some sort of a responsibility, or when we, like for example, I used to teach civil society also very often in many places. I used to talk about civil society. So what is its context? In which context we are discussing about civil society? So that is more important. So as a student of political theory, now our major problem is that if we can contextualize political theory to a particular issue or to a particular period or to a particular place, then it will be easily understood by the students. I'm not telling about, see, utility, everything has its utility. We cannot simply ignore anything in the name that it's not useful. Everything has its usefulness. But the thing is that we have to discuss and decide how it will be useful for our society, for our or even for a particular society. So that should be the motto of political theory, present political theory. I read a book maybe few months before about Indian political theory, and it developed some sort of interest in me, because I thought that in what way it has been political theory has been Indianized. And he gave, of course, his own interpretation, though I may not agree with that, but it gave me that impression that yes, there can be also in Indian political theory. So that's my view. That's my view. Thank you.
So thank you, Satapathy sir. I mean, one thing that comes to my mind right now. Now, who is this postmodernist? I mean, before I was a postmodernist, what I was, maybe I was a modernist, and subsequently I found that in my rationality, the way I am theorizing, there is some inherent problem. Now I have two ways, either to hide this or I will expose it. And when I expose it, then I become a postmodernist. So Guru sir, I partially disagree with you when you say that this is a ego satisfaction. No, this is also a genuineness. when you do any research applying any scientific method, then you can also find that scientific method is not making your research relevant or meaningful. And it can be relevant and meaningful only when you think it from non-science paradigm. Then only it will be meaningful. Let me give you an example that when you understand any reality that is in India, can you understand it with these narratives or grand narratives? Without spiritualism, you cannot understand the realities, the social realities in India. Now, the spiritualism, it is not concrete, it is abstract. You need to have a philosophical understanding or metaphysical understanding. So from that sense, I think those who are postmodernists, they have a point, but concretely they may not able to express it. And I am sure any expert, any academically the best person, if they will speak on postmodernism, and they cannot give a certain view on this topic, because
No,
it is very
there is
difficult.
postmodernism, yes.
No, yes, I cannot hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
There is postmodernism in other social sciences, but how it is relevant to our discipline? Is there any postmodern political theory, even at the
No,
micro level?
it's
I do not find
basically
any.
a
Yeah, it
perspective.
is there. It is there. Postmodern political. There are quite a few books written on postmodern political theory. Like
But you do not find anything relevant there. You are not able to share what to do, how to undertake postmodern political research.
like supposing just a book by Hutchison, Politics of
The
Postmodernism.
caption is there, the title of the book is there, but within, if you read the book, you do not find anything relevant for you to undertake a concrete research activities,
No,
even at the micro level.
no, that's what I'm telling, because postmodern politics also, they speak about the anything at the micro level, or that's how they use this word mini narrative, so that in the form of mini narrative only there can be research, there can be also works about anything related to politics also, that can be possible. But the thing is that it is the researcher only who has to uh, use his universe, how they understand by this postmodern aspects. See, what I'm telling is that regarding supposing methodology, that we have been all researchers, we are all researchers, we have been discussing about like methodology. In methodology, normally what do we do? That empirical method we used to use, but we do not use the postmodern methods or methodologies,
Yes.
especially because that is most of the time, especially among Indian academics, we are not very familiar with that, or we are not very comfortable with those postmodern
Yes,
methods and methodologies. That
that's
becomes a
true.
problem. But the thing is that the knowledge, we cannot ignore or we cannot reject the knowledge itself as such.
No,
Yes,
no, no.
our
I'm not rejecting the knowledge or wisdom of the authors or the scholars. I am interested to enlighten myself to know what is what.
yeah, that how we shall use it
If the
in our,
same technique should be used for postmodern research, how it is different from modern research?
yeah,
Sir,
yeah, that's why that it depends upon the
sir,
researcher.
can I say something? I think that this postmodernism rejects the certainty. Now Guru sir wants to be certain about the postmodernity. Now it's very difficult again.
No, you must tell me the procedure. How shall I proceed? In
There
so
is
far
no
as the
procedure.
postmodern political research is concerned, you cannot
There
beat
is
around the bush and say something abstract. You must say me something concrete so that I can advise the students to undertake, in your sense, postmodern political research. What is it? I do not have any answer.
Yeah, that of course it will not be a very appropriate to discuss about the methodology, because postmodern methodology also, because in a research methodology we used to teach that postmodern method is a part of this research methodology. But there is, but how to concretize it by the
Yes.
researcher, it all depends.
That is my problem. How to concretize it? How to
It all
specify
depends
it?
upon the researcher. It depends upon the researcher and the scholar how they will do it. But there are postmodern methods in research methodology, and that's a part of research methodology now program and courses also. And students are using, but the thing is that in most of the problem is that most of our even guides and supervisors also, they are not very comfortable to
Yes.
work under because of that it has not become very familiar among the Indian political science teachers also. So it is our rather responsibility how to make them popular, how to make them practicable. It's not
Yes.
that actually postmodernity lives in abstraction only. It is related to society. It is useful for the society,
Yes.
and
I
society
agree.
immensely benefited by these postmodern ideas and thinking also, because it provides us an alternative way to understand modernity also, and it gives us again enough scope to question all the claims of science also. So it's not that it's absolutely irrelevant for the society.
No,
It
no,
has,
it's relevant. That is what I'm telling. Substance
May-
must precede technique. That
but
is the
see,
call
that's
of the
what I told.
time. We must be
Uh,
socially relevant, then to be technologically
Technical.
sophisticated.
Postmodernity is more than the technique. It's not related to technique only.
No,
Technique is
it is not
one
concerned with,
aspect.
it doesn't give any emphasis to techniques, but it uses the technique to become socially relevant.
That again, that's what, because postmodernity, they use that word utility, not relevant, because that utility is something different from relevance. And again, they have their own different connotations altogether. So anyway, it's a question of
So,
uh,
so thank you. So thank you
It's an
all for
unending,
this.
yes, Professor Satapathy, it's an unending debate.
yeah, naturally.
What I feel,
That
we
is,
are, yes,
see, academics, this is social science is all about unending debate. If supposing there will be a final answer to any issue,
yes,
then that will be the death of social science.
yes.
Then there will be no social science. And
Therefore,
it has
what
to
I
be
find,
debated. It has to be
I
debated.
find a few blind men taking interest to know the features of a big elephant. This is the conclusion, therefore. All of us are blind, unable to see the elephant, but touching the elephant and saying that elephant is a trunk, elephant is a leg, elephant is a other things, other parts of the body. Similar is our
Now,
predicament.
that's why I gave this example of signifier and signified. The truth is not with the signified. Truth is lies with the signifier. Signifier is more, subject is more important than the object. That's why they say that author is dead.
Yes.
Because once there are, it all depends upon consumers, readers. They are the main, because those who are sidelined in modernity, they have come to the center stage.
Yes.
Because previously, like supposing women, Dalits, or suppose
Yes.
blacks, all those who are homosexuals, so
Yes.
those who are sidelined, now they are coming to the center stage. Similarly,
Therefore, micro studies must be undertaken at the level of the individual, at the level of the groups, and find out their problems and provide remedial measures for their solution. That is the need of the time. But we as political scientists are shirking our responsibility, confining ourselves merely to the classroom and giving lectures and lectures, or writing books and research activities, or doing research activities which adorn the almiras and the bookshelf. What is our utility then? This is
So
my
thank
honest observation. I am very skeptical about the role of contemporary political scientists of this country.
okay.
So thank you. I mean, the time has come. We need to take the question of by the student.
Students,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. This is my honest observations, Professor Satapathy. This is
Okay.
just an academic dialogue. So
Huh.
please do not misunderstand me.
No. I am not. It's a question because it's a question of perception. Because all of us we have our own different perceptions, and we need to go by that.
Now, let me say that some modern they have become postmodern, and
Yes.
some modern they don't want to be postmodern, so they have their own reason.
No. Again, I do not agree with you. I do not agree with you. Now we have to be postmodern, not merely modern. That is the demand of the time.
Okay, sir. Sir, let's take the question asked by the student.
Yeah.
Abhiram has asked a question. Each postmodernism based on provincialism. How does provisionalism? How does it support plurality of ideas and on uniformity? Can we accept it as a pendulum concept since it has some tenets of moral relativism?
See, postmodernity always advocates pluralism. That's why I spoke about that decentering, because postmodernists reject logocentrism. They do not believe that there should be only one center. There has to be so multiplicity, multi-plurality, because the plurality is the basic. There is that's what they used to say, that there is no single hero in any drama or in any. All are heroes. So that's how generally they used to argue. So that is one part. And moral relativism, yes. See, moral relativism speaks about, because see, all of us. So to what extent we are morally correct, and what is the absolute standard of morality, no one can say. So this morality even itself is a relative term, and it means different things to different people. That is how if you understand the core idea, that just let me come to Odia ସମସ୍ତେ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ମୋରାଲିଟିର ଅର୍ଥ କ'ଣ। ଗୋଟିଏ ଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡାର୍ଡ ନାହିଁ ଯେ ମୋରାଲିଟି ଆଗରୁ ଧରାଯାଉ ଗୋଟେ ଯେ ଚୋରି କରିବାଟା ଖରାପ, ଗୋଟେ ଜଷ୍ଟ ସିମ୍ପଲ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ, ଚୋରି କରିବାଟା ଖରାପ। କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ଯଦି କହିବି କୋଉ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ ନା ଚୋରି କରିବାଟା ନିହାତି ଦରକାର ଥିଲା, ହାଉ କ୍ୟାନ୍ वी ସେ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ଇମୋରାଲ? ଆଉ ଆକର୍ଡିଂ ଟୁ ଯୋଉ ମଡର୍ନିଷ୍ଟ କନୋଟେସନରେ ନା ଚୋରି କରିବା ଖରାପ, ଏଟା ଗୋଟେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସାଲ ଟ୍ରୁଥ। ଇଫ୍ ୟୁ ଆର୍ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ମଡର୍ନିଷ୍ଟ, ତମେ କହିପାରିବ ଯେ ନା ଚୋରି କରିବାଟା ଠିକ ହବ, ଧରାଯାଉ ଜଣଙ୍କର ଯଦି ଜୀବନ ବଞ୍ଚେଇ ହେଉଛି ବା ତା ଦ୍ୱାରା ଅନ୍ୟ କିଏ ଯଦି ଗୋଟେ ବହୁତ ବଡ଼ ଉପକାର ଯଦି ପାଉଛି, that is correct. ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ post modernists always they argue in the term of contextuality. They never speak in universal term. They always believe that truth is multiple. There can be truth. There can be no single truth. There can be truths. And that truth is not universal. That truth is not absolute. It's not a binary sign. Day has to be. Post गोटे जिनस कहवाई भूलीगली जे पोस्ट मॉडर्निस्ट मानकर तांकर विचार रे जदि डिसऑर्डर जदि न थांता ताहले ऑर्डर न थांता, तेणु दे गिव मोर इंपोर्टेंस टू डिसऑर्डर। सेमाने कहंती जदि कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन टा जदि न थांता ताहले प्रपोजिशन टा आज एते पावरफुल हे न थांता, सेटा रहिचे बोली सेथिपाई। एंड इट इज क्लोजर टू मार्क्सिज्म आल्सो, इन दैट वे इट इज क्लोजर टू मार्क्सिज्म आल्सो। किंतु सेमानकर कहवा कथा हला जे डिसऑर्डर टा बेसी जरूरी ऑर्डर टा को बुझिवा पाई, किंतु सेमाने कहंतिनी जे ऑर्डर इज सुपीरियर टू डिसऑर्डर। दे गिव रादर मोर इंपोर्टेंस टू द डिसऑर्डर। दैट इज हाउ jar bujhiba. If there is any confusion, you can ask again. I'll try to explain. No problem.
So next question is asked by Mr. Nayak, actually, Akanksha Nayak. What are the benefits of postmodernism to the people of underdeveloping countries as they are engulfed with several parochial traits?
ଏବେ ତ ପ୍ରଫେସର ଗୁରୁଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ସେଇ କଥା ଆମେ ହଉଥିଲୁ ତେବେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଆଗକୁ ମୁଁ ବଢେଇକି ଖାଲି ଏହା କହିପାରିବି ଦେଖ ଥାର୍ଡ ୱାର୍ଲଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜରେ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡା ଆମର ଟିକେ ୱେଷ୍ଟରୁ ଆମର ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ନଲେଜଟା ଆସୁ ଆସୁ ଆମର ଟିକେ ଟାଇମ ଟିକେ ଲାଗିଯାଏ ଆଉ ଯେ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ମଡର୍ଣ୍ଣିଟିଟା ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଥିଲା 1970s 80sରେ ୱେଷ୍ଟରେ ଆମେ ତାକୁ ପାଇଲା ବେଳକୁ 2000 ପରେ ଯାଇକି ଆମେ ତାକୁ ଆଣିଲୁ ତେବେ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ରେଲେଭେଣ୍ଟ ଇଭେନ୍ ଇନ୍ ଥାର୍ଡ ୱାର୍ଲଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରି ଏଟା କୋଉ ମାନେ ଥାର୍ଡ ୱାର୍ଲଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରି ହଉ ବା ଅଣ୍ଡର ଡେଭଲପଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରି ହଉ ସେ ନଲେଜ ଇଜ ଫର ଏଭ୍ରିୱାନ୍ ନଲେଜଟା ଯଦି ସମସ୍ତେ କିଏ କେମିତି କାମରେ ଲଗାଉଛି ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଡିପେଣ୍ଡସ୍ ଅପନ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ତେଣୁ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ମଡର୍ଣ୍ଣିଟିଟା ଆମର ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ କାମରେ ଆସିବ ବିଶେଷତଃ ଏଜ୍ ଏ ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ political theory ମୁଁ କହିବି and as a student of also Indian political theory I will say that in our day to day activities ଠାରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିକି in our academic research also ଧର ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଛୋଟିଆ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲଟା ଖାଲି ଦଉଛି ଯେ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ ଯେତେବେଳେ କରୁଛୁ we give more or less importance to empiricism ତାର ଡାଟା ଫିଲ୍ଡରୁ ଡାଟା କଲେକ୍ସନ ହେଲା ଆଉ ଯୋଉ ଡାଟାଟା ଆମେ ପାଇଲୁ ବେସ୍ଡ ଅନ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ only we do our research କି ଷ୍ଟଡି ଆମେ କଲୁ but why can't there be any issue like suppose ଏବେ ଯୋଉ ଜିନିଷଟା କି ଏବେ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲାଣି କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚଟାକୁ ଆଗରୁ ସବଜେକ୍ଟିଭ ବୋଲି କହିକି ତାକୁ it was completely ignored and rejected କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଜିକାଲି ଆମେ ତ କହୁଛୁ ଯେ କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚର ବେଶୀ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ରହିଛି କାରଣ ମୁଁ କେତେ ପ୍ଲେଜର ପାଇଲି ଗୋଟେ ରସଗୋଲା ଖାଇକି ୟୁ କ୍ୟାନଟ୍ ତାକୁ କରିଦେଇ ହବନି ଯେ ହଁ ମୁଁ ଏତିକି ରସଗୋଲା ଖାଇଲି ଏତିକି ପ୍ଲେଜର ପାଇଲି କାରଣ ଇଟ୍ କ୍ୟାନଟ୍ ବି କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଫାଏଡ୍ ଏଭ୍ରିଥିଙ୍ଗ ୟୁ କ୍ୟାନଟ୍ କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଫାଇ ଇଟ୍ ସୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ ଦ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ୱିଥ୍ ମଡର୍ଣ୍ଣିଟି ସାଇନ୍ସ କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଫିକେସନ ଏଗୁଡାକୁ ସେମାନେ ଚ୍ୟାଲେଞ୍ଜ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତାର କାରଣ ହେଲା ଯେ ଦେ cannot provide answer to everything ତେଣୁ ଏଇଟା ଥାର୍ଡ ୱାର୍ଲଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜ ହେଲା ବା ଅଣ୍ଡର ଡେଭଲପଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜ ହେଲା ଯେ ସବୁ ଅବଶ୍ୟ ଆମେ ତ ଆଜିକାଲି we are living in the fringe of developed and developing society ର ତା ଭିତରେ that's a different connotation କିନ୍ତୁ we are no longer underdeveloped now ଯଦିଓ ଆମର disparity ବହୁତ ଆମ ସୋସାଇଟିରେ ବଟ୍ ଯାହା data କହୁଛି we are in the fringe of developed and developing anyway
The next question is asked by Sanjay. Why postmodernism has been accused of relativism? Because it is very much contextual.
ଯେ ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ନୁହେଁ ମୁଁ ଯୋଉ କଥାଟା କହିଲି ଯେ ରିଲେଟିଭିଜମ ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ଯେ କୋଉ କଥାଟା ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ମାନେ ଥିଓରିରୁ ମୁଁ ଦେବି this universe is ever changing universe ये world रे can you tell me anything which is constant nothing is constant in this world माने जो क्रिएचर हेले ह्यूमन बीइंग्स ठारू आरंभ कर एनी क्रिएचर एनिमेट इनएनिमेट एनी वर्ल्ड anything that we see is there anything permanent is there anything eternal is there anything that permanent no nothing everything is changing and in this ever changing world how can we have an eternal truth final knowledge kemti ame paibu that is what postmodernists they argue a relativism seit pai samane कहउचंती everything is got like mu jo example ta deli democracy katha sena deli tara jo to mate कहबो जे supposing there is a movement for language movement supposing or supposing for separate statehood movement we cannot say that any statehood movement across all the states of the world or sorry across all the states of the country India is wrong it may be right in some context it may be wrong in some other context, it may be right for you. जो माने टेररिस्ट मान को मार देउचंती से कहउचंती जे माने सरकार कहला जे टेररिस्ट से माने कहउचंती जे दे आर फ्रीडम फाइटर्स से माने शहीद जेमिति गुटे सोल्जर टे मरी गले सरकार कहउचंती जे शहीद हे गला किंतु गोटे टेररिस्ट माले कहले जे वन टेररिस्ट सो ऑल दीस थिंग्स आर कॉन्टेक्चुअल ये टेररिस्ट के शहीद it all depends upon our interpretation who interprets that it all depends upon that.
The next question is asked by Pralay Mahanti. Is the postmodern focus on conservatism?
Conservatism ta agute alga agute concept gote karan conservatives only they speak about tradition and conventions kintu modernity postmodernity lives in the present environment. Then conservatives they completely see postmodernists samane कहउचंदी जे we should be autonomous independent being जे आम पाखरे किंतु conservatives samane कहउचंदी जे तांका पाखरे they have shown the path, you do not have any choice to move beyond that trodden path supposing is there. जो कस्टम्स ट्रेडिशंस जो रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस एगुडा को जो रही से गुडा को ही सब किछि किंतु पोस्ट मॉडर्निस्ट माने से कहउना से माने कहउचंती यस वी आर नॉस्टैल्जिक अबाउट पास्ट नो डाउट बट इट डजंट मीन दैट वी आर बाउंड बाय all these traditions and customs. No, not that. Individual they should have their own rational thinking, and that rationality is not objective. According to modernists, reason and rationality are objective. Postmodernists samane कहउनांती. That's why मुझे तबे कहितली मुकल इट्स ए contested version only कारण postmodernist samane कहउचंती reason and rationality depends upon the person. Whatever is rational for me may not be rational for you.
So another question is asked by Dhirendra Kumar Jana. Can we understand postmodernism research methodology as a triangular method?
Repeat करा
Can we understand postmodernism research methodology as a triangular method? Triangular method.
Triangular method. Triangular
Okay,
method.
if Dhirendra Kumar Jana is there, he can clarify this.
Yeah. What he wants to know.
Dhirendra Kumar Jana is here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good
Okay,
evening.
you can.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Himanshu.
Good evening.
Ravi sir and Sam Guru sir. Actually, this opinion crept into mind having listened the opinion of Guru sir. Actually, Guru sir rightly pointed out one thing that tell me what is the postmodern research, postmodern research methodology. Actually, he wanted to know what is postmodern research methodology and what will the researcher will do so far postmodern research is concerned. How a political scientist will adopt postmodern research methodology. That's why this question crept into my mind. So yes, can it be triangular method? That means mixture of both empirical or quantitative and qualitative.
You mean
qualitative.
Triangular.
May I say something? Maybe he is making sense. So triangular means in a postmodern research there is a space for traditional approach, there is a space for behavioral approach, and there is a space for post-behavioral approach. So postmodernity means it's these three.
Yes.
से दृष्टि ना देखा एक्चुअली हमारा जो देयर इज वर्तमान बहुत जगह रे एंड स्पेशली आई आल्सो सुपरवाइज्ड not less than 5-6 students, those who had adopted eclectic approach. Eclectic approach mane setare it will be confined, it will not be confined to any specific method. Eclectic approach mane there will be different approaches, combination of different approaches, like supposing data and fact empiricism भी रहला ता संगरे रहिबो पुणी जो ऑब्जेक्ट कौन जो जे एनालिटिकल अप्रोच भी रहइबो हिस्टोरिकल अप्रोच भी रहइबो तेणु सब गुडा कर जोटा जोठी रेलेवेंट जोटा जोठी जति दरकार अकॉर्डिंगली से अप्रोच टाको करा जिवो दैट इज हाउ ट्रायंगुलर माने तीनटा खाली काहे कहि हबनी देयर मे बी इवन मोर देन दैट आल्सो किंतु मोर कहवा कथा कहछि माने जे पोस्ट मॉडर्न रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी इज देयर and we can discuss कारण कौन कि ताकू द्वारा जो discussion we can discuss in another forum or on a particular context we can discuss सेटा माने we can do it but postmodern method जोटा रहिछि जे सेटा it's a part of now research methodology we cannot completely reject postmodern method as a field of study or as a approach of study it is very much there किंतु मोर कहवा कथा हला जे ताकू जदि आमे यूज करवा न जानिचु ताकू आमे पूरा जे पोस्ट मॉडर्न अप्रोच टाकू बा मेथड टाकू आमे रिजेक्ट कर दे परिबोनी we do not know that is our जे problem that is my problem that I couldn't know how to use it किंतु that approach itself whether it is right or wrong सेटा को आमे रिजेक्ट कर परिबो नै that is what I believe in.
So thank you, sir. Next question is asked by Pradeep Kumar Pradhan. Sir, if we understand the text from a postmodern thinking, then there will be the problem of hermeneutic understanding.
See, postmodernists are very clear about that.
Hermeneutics.
They say that let there be multiple understanding or multiple interpretation will be there. Yes, you are telling about that hermeneutic problem may be there. They don't bother about that. They don't bother. They say that, like supposing there will be contradicted interpretations of a text, or there will be various. Se mane seiti pai postmodernists they are talking about decentering. Let it go to different aspects. Let there be no one way of understanding everything only. There be hundreds of thousands of interpretations. There is no problem. That is their main argument.
Sir, I think postmodern thinking is hermeneutical. I mean, hermeneutics talks about contextual, understanding or doing research.
That is only one. But I look at it from another point of view. The decentering जो कहूची, जे contextualizing हबो तो सेटा तो निश्चित है. But how supposing I will understand a text, it all depends upon me. I may not go to the context also. I think from my own understanding because this is the product of my own mind. जे तेनु सेथि पाई जे it's not necessary that has to be only from a particular because there should not be any limit to any interpretation. It may be within the context, it may be out of context also. It all depends upon the reader, how he understands the text.
So thank you, sir. You have almost answered all the questions and quite long time you have been speaking, you have been dealing with questions. And I hope that such an audience, such a discussion has also given a positive feedback to you. I know that you will be happy because of this academic activity.
Yeah, I always enjoy this type of things.
Okay, so right now we are at the last part of this event web talk. Now I request my PhD student Priti Sharma to provide vote of thanks. Priti, please.
Thank you, sir. It is my privilege to extend the vote of thanks on this webinar talk. I, on behalf of all the participants, extends a hearty vote of thanks to all delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. We have been fortunate to have a renowned personality and our today's guest speaker, Professor Rabindra Kumar Satapathy, to take out time from his busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you, sir, for inspiring us with your words. Sir, your thoughts on modernity and its connection with scientific knowledge and systemization has really inspired us. Sir, we will be ever remain grateful to you, and we thank you for being with us today. I also thanks to Professor Syama Prasad Guru sir for sharing with us his ideas and thought on postmodernism. Further, we are grateful to Professor Swarnamay Tripathi Madam, Dr. Nivedita Giri Madam. Thank you very much, Madam, for joining the webinar talk. My gratitude to all the speakers for gracing the occasion and sharing their opinions today. I thank to my research guide, Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra sir, who always stand by us, guide us, lead us, and motivate us, and for giving me the opportunity to express my gratitude to this webinar. Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, thanks to all the participants for attending the webinar. I once again thanks everyone for making this program successful.
So thank you, Pritish, for your vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir.
And once again, also on behalf of all, I am obliged to Satapathy sir and his conceptual clarity. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, sir, namaste. So I'm stopping the recording.